Hansworm Hat. So I've briefly hinted at this in a video not too long ago. I'm definitely going to be taking a break from making conspiracy themed videos, and even just this channel. I'm probably just going to let it sit here for a while and hope people find it and see the work that I've already done. It's just I don't feel like continuing to do the things that I've already done 100 times, and I need to move on. Here, what I'm going to read today is from a website that I made, so I'm not stopping. If you know how to find me, you'll find me. And yeah, I want to go do new things because conspiracy is not important. I don't need to have a big conspiracy channel, and I don't care about my fake persona, and I just don't care about that stuff. It's just how I woke up was through conspiracy. How I found Jesus was through conspiracy. I mean, even waking up, you can say, is vanity because none of this stuff is going to matter. It's not like we're going to get a gold star in heaven if we figured out that the earth is flat. It just doesn't matter. The message is Jesus. I just so happened to wake up to Jesus through conspiracy. And that's just how it worked for me. Not everybody who gets saved is going to be saved through conspiracy. And I guess it'll just be a shock for them when they wake up and find some of the truths. But there's going to be plenty of people that know all sorts of things about conspiracy that aren't saved. And so I just want to end my video with the important message. What I've been learning here is not Orange 33, Great Deception, whatever. Sure, that's what I talk about, and those are revelations that have been like a slow leak over the past 4 years for me personally. But the important part is that brought me to Jesus. I saw the conspiracy was satanic, and that everything that they were doing was to undermine the Bible, and I saw the truth in the Bible, and that's the important part. How I got here, okay, interesting. It's what my channel's all about, but the main message is I found out that Jesus is the truth and that the only way out of here is you have to go through Jesus. And so I want to end my channel. Who knows? Maybe I'll be back, but I want to go do different things. And yeah, that's it. That's all I know. I just know that this just doesn't interest me anymore. I don't care to read the news anymore and to try to debunk the next Orange 33 thing. It just doesn't matter, and I don't even think that time it just doesn't matter, and we have to focus on what's important. And the things that I've had to say, I've already said 100 times, so saying it for the 101st time isn't going to change anything. And so I just want to end on the important message, and that's all of everything that I've woken up to has brought me to Jesus Christ, and knowing that the Bible is true and that Jesus Christ is the Messiah and he is the only way to get to heaven. So like I said earlier, this is from my website, one of the projects that I'm going off and doing. And yeah, if you really want to find me, you'll be able to find me out there. And yeah, I'm just going to read this. Jesus is the way out. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. There is no way to the Father but through Jesus, period. This is why modern day, you-know-who, hate Jesus so much. This is why atheists, pagans, science worshippers all single out Christianity as their punching bag. This is why Jesus Christ is constantly blasphemed on the TV. His name is Jesus. Do not fall for the false doctrine of the modern day Pharisees, who will come in and tell you their special names. When an airplane hits some extreme turbulence, a lot of agnostics and spiritual but not religious people sure do start pleading to God and Jesus for their safety. One time I was on a kick of watching YouTube videos of extreme carnival-style rides, the kind that slingshots two passengers into an experience way beyond enjoyment and well into PTSD-inducing. Experiences like that can bring anyone to Jesus in an instant. I didn't hear one person call out to Buddha to save them from the experience, not once. I've never heard anybody ask for Vishnu or Odin to take the wheel. And there's just all sorts of little things all over the world that show you how important Jesus is. And just one example I give is on a helicopter, the nut that holds everything together, they call it the Jesus nut. Point being, we all know Jesus is the correct answer. God is merciful, and of course he did not make salvation niche or hard to find. It's the obvious answer. I guess it's worth pointing out how I was not raised under any religion. In fact, I used to have a strong distaste for most Christians because they felt phony to me. That being said, I always knew that if I did eventually come to learn that God is real, I knew that Jesus was the truth and the Bible was correct. John chapter 10, verse 27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." You know when you just know something is the truth? Part of how salvation works is that everybody needs to be given the opportunity. Free will gives us each the opportunity to see the truth and cling to it, or to reject it. If Satan destroyed the Bible and did everything he could to hide it, that would defeat the purpose. It would make no sense if the true way to salvation was obscure and nobody knew about it. God preserves his word and makes sure the whole earth hears the gospel. That's why everyone knows who Jesus is. Notice how Hollywood mocks the idea with things like Jesus Christ Superstar, and the idols of the world stage like to brag about being as big or popular as Jesus. No, Satan does not want to hide God's word. He wants to mock it and flip it upside down and get as many people to reject it as possible. This is why Christianity is the main religion of USA, which is modern-day Babylon. But it is a plastic, phony 501c3 version. Consider how many Christian churches there are, denominations, etc., but almost none of them preach that the Bible is truth. These 501c3 churches preach NASA outer spaceland, dinosaurs, and celebrate pagan holidays like Christmas, Saturnalia, even though in the book of Jeremiah, the Christmas tree ritual is clearly spoken of as a pagan tradition that is not to be followed. The simple answer is that modern churches are compromised and run by wolves in sheep's clothing. I've never heard of a sizable church that preaches the truth that the earth is flat and unmoving, dinosaurs are a hoax, and that focus on repentance rather than talking about love, 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 Pauline stuff all day. I don't even want to open that can of worms right now. It took me less than 3 years of truth searching to wake up to all sorts of satanic deception that has been hidden in plain sight the whole time. The devil is in the detail. Why have none of these church leaders found the same thing? Have they spent zero time looking for the truth? Why do they blindly follow traditions of men, of the world, that directly contradict the Bible? If you confront these people about it, they'll brush you aside and ignore you. Do you ever just wonder that? Like, there's all these pastors out there that go up and they're talking about the Bible and stuff, but they know nothing about satanic deception. They know nothing about how the people on the world stage, all the famous people, throw devil horns all the time. They've never seen the pictures of the Pope throwing devil horns, things like that. And so to me, I just think that they're phony. I think that they know that all that stuff exists, but they're just wolves. So now that I've laid some groundwork, I'll tell you my personal finding Jesus story. And for a lot of you, you've heard this before, but I just want to end my channel with what matters. The first time I properly heard the gospel, I was in my early teens at the beach and stopped with a friend of mine to listen to 2 501c3 type preachers. That night on the car ride home, I did what the preachers were talking about. I tried having a conversation with God in my head, asking to be forgiven and to be saved through Jesus. I definitely felt something in the moment, though like seed tossed by the wayside. What happened that night was quickly forgotten about, and I was caught up in the world for the next 15 or so years of my life. Not that I blame myself. I grew up in a Baphomet family, unbeknownst to me, and it's not like I had access to a KJV Bible or people I could talk to about it, so I kind of just forgot about it. And man, did those 15 years drag on. Time used to go so much more slowly then. This brings me to my awakening moment. So fast forward 15 years. At this point in my life, I'd completed all my earthly studies. I had my degrees from the Masonic University system, and I was using my degree to teach in my field. I was pretty much a normie at that point in my life, though it's probably better to describe me as plain gullible and blind to everything that was right in front of my face. Not completely duped, however, I had plenty of instincts about things and faded memories that were waiting to blossom into larger understandings. Sometimes students would have little questionnaires for me, and one day an ROTC military student of mine had a questionnaire asking what were the 3 most important things in my life. And I'm not the kind of person to just shout out answers if I'm unsure. In the moment, I was rather taken aback that such a simple question could leave me completely dumbfounded. I told the student that I didn't know off the top of my head and that he should ask again later, and I will have had the time to properly think about it. I remember thinking how odd it was that I was almost 30 years old and couldn't come up with what was the most important thing to me, let alone come up with a top 3 list. After carefully considering my list, and also considering all the trite answers people typically throw out, like family — I don't even like my Earth family — I finally decided on not a top 3 list, but on a single thing that I could agree was the most important thing to me: the truth. The truth is the most important thing to me. At the time, I had never actually read the Bible, and I had no idea that Jesus tells us that He is the truth. I believe that in that moment, the moment in which I decided for myself that the truth was what was the most important thing to me, that everything in my life started to change. I had just recovered from alcoholism that gripped me in my mid-20s. I started waking up to all sorts of conspiracy truth, and especially the big secret about people's skeletons. I eventually ended up quitting my job and starting a YouTube channel and waking up more and more to the great deception that the world is now under. In that way, I'm one of those people who was brought to God through Satan. I finally saw Satan's influence over this world and how easily I was fooled by the vain philosophies of this earth and by earthly things. Before I woke up, I wanted to have a big brain and have people think that I was smart because I memorized things from textbooks written by liars. Thankfully, Jesus opened my eyes and I was no longer hypnotized by the prince of the power of the air. I was no longer blinded by science, or seance, as they say. Well, that's mostly it. As far as my awakening goes and revelation and all that, sure, there were a few key understandings that were revealed to me over time, but that's just how I woke up to the truth. Not everyone needs to understand gematria or know about orange coding. Not everyone needs to know that the earth is flat to be saved through Jesus Christ. That's just how I got here. It has been said before that once you get the message, hang up the phone. Once you know that this earth is doomed to burn, and that everything on TV is a deception, and that most of the world is going down the broad way of destruction, it really puts things into perspective, though at times it's hard to face the facts that none of this really matters. It is finished. Jesus Christ is the only way out.